Welcome to Books and Things with Tom. This week, I have a subject that everybody is familiar with, and I'm sure there are very few of you out there who haven't had an experience with someone close to you, or at least heard of Alzheimer's. And today's guest is Kristine Johnson, the Eastern Regional Director of Alzheimer's Association out of Norwich. And she's going to discuss this horrible mind and body disease. Welcome, Kristine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure having you here. Now, you've been working for the Alzheimer's Association since December of 2011.
Correct.
And you obviously must like what you're doing.
It's been very therapeutic for me, I would say. Prior to working for the association, we were recipient of services. My father had younger onset Alzheimer's. He was 52 when he was diagnosed. And as a family, we knew absolutely nothing about it, especially that a person so young could develop the disease. Yeah. So we started going to programs and connecting with the agency, and that's how we became involved.
Well, that was one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here, was to discuss it so people can look for it. And a big question is, from my understanding, is it's part of dementia.
Yeah, so Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. There are different types of dementia, different types of cognitive impairment. And there are some types of dementia that are treatable or reversible, and there are some that are unfortunately progressive and fatal, such as Alzheimer's. So that's one of the reasons we encourage families and people who have concerns to go to the doctor to get a full assessment. Don't just assume it's Alzheimer's, it could be something else. I always give the example, we have a doctor that works very closely with us, and he speaks at our caregiver course. He gives the example that he was referred a patient that had a diagnosis of Alzheimer's for, I believe it was over 2 years, and he was called in to consult. And come to find out, the person had a vitamin B12 deficiency. Their vitamin B12 was so depleted, they were having symptoms that mimicked Alzheimer's. So for all that time, they thought they had a fatal disease, and they did not.
That's scary.
It is. And there are things that people don't realize can cause symptoms of that cognitive impairment, such as thyroid condition or even Lyme disease. Things that are around us all the time. Yeah. So,
Lyme disease, another one, is a killer.
Yeah.
But but it's so scary to think that a lot of people are going down that road with Alzheimer's, and it's hitting closer and closer. Any older I get, the more scared I am.
And we are hearing about it more. We're getting more coverage about it. At this time, over 5 million people in the United States have a diagnosis. And I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers were truly higher than that. Yeah. And in Connecticut, there's over 73,000 people that have a diagnosis of a type of dementia, Alzheimer's or a type of dementia.
Now tell me, what does your organization do?
One of the things that we do is we work with families, we work in the community, we provide care consultations, we can help with information, resources, referrals to community programs, help to link people to programs that are going to help to strengthen their caregiving team, to help educate them as a person that might be diagnosed, or educate them as a care provider. There are families and friends that are helping to provide care. There are professionals that help to provide care. So all of the program that we do for family and friends and the community as a whole are free of charge. We also do trainings for skilled nursing facilities, assisted livings, home health agencies. We even do training with police officers and first responders. So if they approach someone with dementia, they'll know how to interact with them and what to look for.
Wow. And you're nonprofit.
We are a nonprofit, so we rely on donations and we do fundraising. We have several fundraising events, but 2 signature events that we do yearly that help us to raise the funds.
And those are?
In June, we have what's called the Longest Day, and that's held on the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year.
Oh, okay.
So the idea behind the Longest Day is that for caregivers, every day is the longest day, because caring is so stressful. It can be stressful for caregivers,
Sure.
especially if you don't have a big pool of people that are supporting you.
Yeah.
A lot of the doctors that we work with tell us that they end up admitting more caregivers into the hospital than the person diagnosed, because caregivers will often forsake their own medical needs because of the strain of the care for their loved one. And not that they wouldn't do it, because they love caring for their loved one, but they unfortunately will neglect themselves. So with the longest stay, families can do whatever is special to them. We have families that hold a baseball event. We have a family whose loved one really loves the game of Trouble, that old-fashioned board game. So they
yeah.
have Trouble tournaments throughout the day. Families go for walks. They have big events or small events, but whatever is important to you and your family. So that's a fun way to support one another and to help raise awareness and funds for the association.
Wow. And then it gets to the point where you really can't care for them anymore.
Depending on the care team, I would say. So some families are able to keep their loved ones home throughout the course of the disease, and other families look for some community assistance, such as home health agencies, skilled nursing facilities, or assisted livings.
I know a friend of mine, her husband had Alzheimer's. She came downstairs one day. He had taken all the locks on the windows apart.
Yeah.
And nobody knew how. She had to get a carpenter to put all those locks back together. It's scary.
And so that's a perfect example is what might happen for one person might not happen to another person.
Yeah, yeah.
But my father was a lineman, so he was very familiar with electricity. So he wouldn't mess with the stove or things like that, but he was messing with the outlets. So for some people, what their background is might be where they start tinkering. I've heard stories of a gentleman who used to be a plumber, and so he was taking apart all the pipes in the bathroom. So every day they were trying to fix what he was just taking apart. It was what was in him, what he knew, so that's what he always went to. So
Yeah, because this guy got in the car one day and drove it around. They found him like 6-7 miles away. Couldn't find his way home.
yes.
It's kind of funny, but it's sad.
And it can be scary. Our loved ones or the people we're caring for, they can have what we call moments of clarity. So even if they need assistance standing from one point to a next, or maybe some assistance or guidance with personal care, anything, they might have a moment of clarity, see some keys on the table. Oh, I know what that's for, and then take off.
Yeah.
They might not have driven in years, but that one moment, they have a moment of clarity. So those things can happen.
Yeah, because then that moment doesn't last that long, and they're out there in the middle of the road, have no idea where they're going.
Right.
Now, when would a person contact you?
Ideally, people would contact us earlier on in the disease, whether they have concerns about the disease or when they're first diagnosed. If people get involved in services earlier on, some of the treatments that are available might be more successful, or some of the medications that are available for people. But anytime throughout the course, anytime they have questions or need information, they can contact us for any reason.
Wow, so you're based in Norwich.
Yes, my office is in Norwich. I have the whole eastern region, so I go from the 395 corridor up to Massachusetts, down to Rhode Island 95, and over to Colchester.
That's a lot of area.
Yeah, I have a big area.
Wow. And your background in social work and working with families in various settings has proven to be a vital resource for your work with the Alzheimer's Association.
It definitely has. I used to be a social worker at DCF, and I've done some other similar jobs. So I've always worked with families. So this has just helped to kind of transcend into this new role. And the experience that we've had with my dad has been very helpful as well. I never put myself in another person's shoes, but I can understand, some of the frustrations or concerns that a person might have as they're caring for their loved one.
What about warning signs?
So there are 10 main warning signs for Alzheimer's and related dementia. It's funny because, sometimes people get nervous. And, I use the example, people will ask, because I forgot where I put my keys, or I forgot my sunglasses are on the top of my head, and they were there all day. Does that mean I have a form of dementia? And it's not so much that we forget things. We forget things every day. But is it out of the ordinary for your loved one?
Yeah.
Do I have keys, but I have absolutely no idea what they're for? So it's not just the act that we're forgetting something, but it's foreign to us, or it's happening more and more.
Yeah.
I have one example of a woman that I was working with, and she said the first sign she realized something was troubling her about her husband is bills were coming back in the mail unpaid. When she did look into the checkbook, it was a mess, heads to tails. She couldn't make sense of it. It was out of character for her because her husband was an accountant and he could do numbers like nobody's business. She never had to worry about the money.
Yeah.
But that was a warning sign because it was so out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
With my father was depth perception. His depth perception was really off, and he was hitting his head, getting in and out of the truck. He was driving towards the breakdown lane, and that was very out of character for him.
Wow.
He was a very safe driver. He had a CDL license, and he took that very seriously. Never went above the speed limit. Very, very strict driver. So when we started seeing those different signs, something's wrong. You know, we knew something was wrong. That Dad doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, he kind of covered, or I worked long hours, or I'm really tired, and it made sense the first couple of times. But then that continued to happen. Something else is going on. So then that's when we really started to pay attention and started contacting doctors. So it's really what warning signs that are out of character for a person.
That's yeah, because we all go into the room. We can't remember what we're in there for,
Right.
and you sit there and go, "Oh no, here we go," and that's scary.
It can be, and that's a real concern for people. I think, especially the more we hear about Alzheimer's on the news, any little slip we have, it makes us concerned.
Yeah.
But again, when we think about something that's out of character,
Yeah.
I have never been a person that's been good remembering a person's name.
Oh,
So that's not going to be a warning sign for my family. If something else happens, maybe, but we have to look about what is different about the person.
Yeah, because I have a lot of times I'm sitting there and thinking, I start to talk about something right at the end, tip of my tongue, I can't get the person's name.
Yes.
And you go, oh no.
Happens to me regularly.
I just say, well, I'm getting all them senile, leave me alone. But that's just, it's comical because you got to laugh at a lot of
You
stuff
do.
because otherwise it would be a serious mess. And but you do have to be careful about people that are, like you say, out of touch for some reason.
Yes.
Now, what is the difference though between dementia and?
So Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. The word dementia is just cognitive impairment that interferes with daily life. So what's causing that cognitive impairment? Is it Alzheimer's? And Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. Or is it a dementia from a Lewy body disease or a Parkinson's form of dementia? Or is it a dementia, again, that's treatable or reversible? So I use the analogy, it's like the word cough. The word cough in and of itself isn't a diagnosis, it's a symptom.
Yeah.
So the dementia is a group of symptoms. What's causing the cough? Is it because you have a popcorn kernel in the back of your throat? Is it because you have allergies or the flu? So whatever's causing that cough is the diagnosis. So there's Alzheimer's and Lewy body and frontal temporal dementia. There's all different types of dementia.
I think my mother had dementia. I really don't know.
Yeah.
And but it started out. We were sitting having lobster. We've eaten lobsters forever. And she grabbed a lobster and the crusher and sat there and looked at the two. And my brother and I looked at her and said, "What's the matter?" "I don't know." So he grabbed the claw and opened it up for him. And then she was fine. But just for that 1 second.
She wasn't sure how to get the...
She had no idea, none.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and it was shortly thereafter, maybe 6 months or a year, that we finally ended up putting her in the hospital.
Okay.
And they just said dementia. But but she used to have a little TIAs,
Okay.
and so there's so much to it that,
There are, and years ago, a lot of times it was referred to as senility. Sometimes people were mistakenly diagnosed with a mental illness,
Yeah.
and it was a type of dementia. If a person has TIAs, that could be a vascular form of dementia.
Yeah.
So there's all different possibilities.
and then you have hardening of the arteries, and there's so much. Now, you mentioned something about a statewide dementia education conference.
Yeah, so we have a statewide conference, and it's for family caregivers, it's for professionals, And that's held at the Cromwell Plaza. And it's in April this year. And we have an international speaker that is our keynote speaker this year. And then we have different breakout sessions. So whether this is your first conference or if it's someone's 10th conference, there's different topics and subjects that can help you learn more about the disease, learn more about the person you're caring for. So again, we have family caregivers that come, to nurses, doctors, social workers that come to learn more about the disease.
Wow. That sounds good.
It is. It's a wonderful opportunity. And in addition to the education conference, again, we have free programs that are in the community as well. So we have guest speakers for those as well. Anything from knowing the 10 signs of the disease to learning about communication and behavior, tactics and techniques. So lots of different ways to gain that support and whatever your goal is, again, whether you're that main caregiver or you're just trying to learn more about the disease, the more information you have can help you be that much more successful, which is what we need when we're working with this disease. No two people progress the same way. There's a similar track. There's things that we can look for and say, okay, this seems quote unquote typical, but one person with Alzheimer's is not like another person necessarily. So the more information we have, the better.
Wow. Now, I think most of the convalescent homes have a Alzheimer's wing.
A lot of them do. So some of them have secured units or units that are dedicated for memory care. So those staff members should have a certain amount of training, so they are more understanding of the disease and how to work with people that have that disease. And most of those units are locked, so knowing that 6 out of 10 people that have the disease wander, they keep those units secure so they can't just get out.
And some can be dangerous too, can't they?
Sometimes, and sometimes what we don't necessarily understand is there might be something that triggers that behavior. Something as simple as a urinary tract infection can cause havoc in a person that has a form of dementia. So they might become more aggressive where they might not normally be that way. Sometimes it's a memory. We were speaking earlier about PTSD. So if you have a person that served in a war, they might hear a sound or something that have a trigger and get very agitated because of an experience they had, but it's flashing in their mind as if it's happening right then and there. So that's a perfect example of the more information we know about that person, we can help redirect them, help calm them down. Those are wonderful things that can help us be successful.
I mean, this stuff can go back to when they were in childhood.
It can. It can.
It's amazing.
It does. So something that's helpful for caregivers to understand is as a person is progressing forward in the disease, they're going backwards in their memory. So they might not, my dad I remember him saying to me several times, Chris, where's mom? Dad, she's right there. That's not her. That's not my wife. Ooh. And he would say again, Chris, where's mom? Dad, there's mom. That's not her. So I called the association. I didn't know what was happening. And Stacy, she's now my wonderful coworker, but she helped to us to understand that whole process. As people are progressing in the disease, they're going backwards in their memory. So she suggested that it's possible my father was picturing the 19-year-old Brenda that he married and not the 50-something-year-old Brenda that was sitting in front of him. So sometimes a person diagnosed might think that their child is their spouse, or they might think that their grandchild is actually their child because they're back that far in their memory.
My mother used to think that I was her brother.
Yes.
And for the last 3 or 4 years, she had no idea who I was. And it's sad because you yourself, you don't know who I am. And unfortunately, she didn't.
And it can be a hard thought for caregivers to understand, but I do believe a person, they still feel your presence and they can feel your love. So even if they don't recognize you per se, they can tell that you're a good-natured person in the room. They could still have enjoyment with you in the room. So if you don't know what to talk about with your loved one during a visit, whether they're home or in a skilled nursing facility, talk about something from the past. Oh, tell me about that vacation you took, or what about when so-and-so fell out the tree? They might be able to converse about that and have some great laughs, but they might not remember what they had for breakfast today or that you came to visit yesterday.
5 minutes from now, she'll forget the whole thing anyway.
Right.
It's very sad. I don't. you like to think that you're not going to get it, but you don't know. And they blame it on what stainless steel and aluminum pans
So
and
there's different, we don't know. And unfortunately, we do need to continue with our research to figure out what causes the plaques and the tangles that form, what causes the different forms of dementia. There are people that there are risk factors, things that they kind of poo-hooed years ago, they're looking at again. I remember before my dad got diagnosed, we asked, he was very involved in sports, and we asked about that, and that particular doctor was like, absolutely not, there's no outside reason for Alzheimer's. Well, now we know that they're really looking at concussions and head injuries.
Oh, yeah.
So people that have multiple head injuries could be more at risk for Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. If you have high blood pressure or, like you were mentioning, the TIAs, that could put you at a higher risk for maybe a vascular type of dementia. So there are things that might put you more at risk, but they still don't know what causes it. They don't know how to prevent it. But we're working towards that with research.
yeah, once they get the cause down pretty good, then perhaps they can get the cure.
Definitely, and even some better treatments. We haven't had a new drug on the market in some years. The drugs that are available now, they might help some people, but they don't stop the progression of the disease. So the research and the funding towards the research is really going to be beneficial.
So there's really no help.
Well, I wouldn't say that there's no help. The drugs that are available, some of the drugs might help some people, but this is more of a environmental help, I will say, as far as the care and the support. I go back to the more information you know, the better educated you are, the better you're going to be for that person you're caring for and for yourself as a caregiver.
Now, you brought some brochures and things.
I did. One of the things I wanted to mention is we have support groups in the area that are for caregivers, but we also have some support groups that are for the person diagnosed. So in our area here in Eastern Connecticut, we have what's called GAP, and that GAP program is statewide, and GAP stands for Giving Alzheimer's Purpose. So there's different types of GAP groups. Here in the East, we meet at a location behind Connecticut College in New London, and our group is for the person diagnosed and a care partner. So it could be a family member, it could be a home health aide, it could be a grandchild, and we have more of a social engagement type group. So this month, we're looking to have some Irish-inspired entertainment. I'm still trying to work out those details, but we've had some wonderful performers. We've had a gentleman, Michael Sullivan, who has come and played guitar, and we have seen our attendees come to life, start singing and tapping, and we had a couple get up and start like really dancing, and so that engagement has been fabulous. We've done Tai Chi quite a bit, and that stimulation has been wonderful. We took a lighthouse tour last fall, so we do lots of social activities. One of the things about this disease, whether you're the person diagnosed or the care partner, it can be a very isolating disease. And we want to help minimize that. So we want the person diagnosed, we want those care partners to come out, interact with one another, laugh, have a good time, and just be part of the community.
Yeah.
So we really enjoy our GAP program.
Now, a person with Alzheimer's, you can't really teach them anything.
Well, it's not that you can't teach them anything. Routine is probably your best friend for a person that's progressing in the disease, keeping that routine. So one of the things that we say is, people do tend to fall back on what's ingrained in them. So whether they like sports or whether they were always an avid walker, that might stay with a person longer. But there are people who have started to partake in activities that they might not have ever tried before, whether it's gardening or dancing. As a disease progresses, a person's inhibitions might be lowered, so they might try something different that they might not have tried before, and that's wonderful.
Well, we're down to a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I did want to mention that our Walk to End Alzheimer's, which is our signature event, is September 20th, and it's at Ocean Beach in New London. It's a Saturday, and we have a wonderful time. We raise money, we raise awareness, but it's a wonderful community event that you can come out as that care provider, as a person diagnosed, and just see a sea of people that are in this together. So we encourage everyone to come to Ocean Beach and to support the event.
And how long of a walk is it?
You have the option of walking the boardwalk 3 times as a mile, or we have a route that goes down Ocean, and then we cut down to Montauk, and that's a little more than 2 miles.
Wow.
So you can stay on the boardwalk or go out to the community.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the other one is June, the longest day?
Yes, that's the summer solstice, and that's an event you do whatever you want to do that day.
Ah,
Have a wonderful time. Yes, it just helped to spread awareness.
my ex-father used to go play golf.
That's
Say, play golf the longest day.
that would be a great activity for families to
Yeah.
enjoy.
Wow. Well, I think we've learned something today, and it's unfortunate that we have to learn things about Alzheimer's, but it's also a great event that we can do that. And if you have any questions, please call. There'll be a phone number up there for Alzheimer's. You can ask for Kristine or whoever answers the phone, and they'd be more than happy to help you. If you'd like to make a donation, I'll do that too.
Thank you.
And because God knows it costs a lot of money.
It does. And again, all of our programs that we offer are free of charge, so we appreciate the support.
Yeah, that's great. Because oh my gosh. I'll say that most of the things that are out there today are free. A lot of it, unless you talk about medicines.
Right.
But there's an awful lot of help out there for
Right.
Alzheimer's, for anything really.
Right. So take advantage of
Even
it.
the program that I'm starting.
Yes.
But I'll give you some more on that in a little
Please.
bit. But that's, people need help.
They do. You don't have to be in this alone.
No.
You don't have to be in this alone. So.
And today's social activities is not the old communities it used to be.
Right.
You know, when I was a kid, I knew everybody in the street.
Right.
I don't know the guy next door.
Right. So if we have a community where people are looking out for one another,
Yeah.
it's just going to help us that much more.
And it's too bad because it does take a community to raise a child.
It does. And I say it takes a village to help successfully care for someone with a disease.
That's right.
Our neighbor's son let us know. We live in Waterford. He saw my dad walking downtown in London one day. We had no idea he was down there. But for him letting his mom know who called us,
Yeah.
it takes a village.
It does.
It does.
It takes a lot. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dorian and the passing of Dorian. That a tremendous kid. We begged for miracles to try to keep him alive, but I think we already had the miracle in keeping him as long as we did. And he is an angel. I mean, the child has done so much for community and statewide and countries getting together to pray for
Definitely.
the boy. The kid's phenomenal. And he just passed away, and I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, we mentioned the Loved Ones Lost program that I'm setting up. Would be a poster. There's the poster that's identifying it. That's going to be March 28th at the, there you go, Groton Regency. And it's going to be a good program. It's free. Come on down if you lost somebody, you know somebody who's lost somebody. Come down and we make you some hints. Where it's not a health cure thing, but it's grieving is discussions. You have to talk about it. You have to get it out. Get it off your chest. If you keep it in there, it just burns and burns your holes in your chest and stuff. So you want to do that. So I'm trying to drum up a program that you can talk about the death of your person that you lost. Anyway, the winter is almost over. According to the weather out there, it's gorgeous.
Lovely to know.
So you might have to just cuddle up with a good book at night, and you should be reading. And I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
That's that.